This group gives me like a real sense of belonging and like community, so somewhere to be safe and talk about things that you can't talk about in other places.
Being part of this group helps me get to bring my confidence up, get to know people.
I get to meet a lot of new people where we will have things to relate to and we can talk about similar interests, and there's a couple of people that I've met outside of this group now, so I've met actual outright friends as well.
I really feel valued in Youth in Mind because I know that the people who are in there really want to be there and help mental health services. So being able to speak to people who have that same passion as I do makes me feel very valued, and especially because they're all around the same age as me, so we have that sort of common ground.
Young people deserve to have a voice in the things that affect them, and we want to get them as involved in change making and shaping the services that they're going to be involved with as possible.
Youth in Mind has helped me feel like I've made a difference when we spoke to the education mental health practitioners, so we were able to give them our experiences so they can use those when they qualify and they can use those in practice.
So we know what our lecturers want, what our managers want, but actually what do the young people value from us?
To actually give them the confidence to sit there and to be able to frankly say, this is what we want and this is something that actually we would have really found beneficial to help us engage in the first place, because, you know, that huge step, just getting them through the door so that we can give them that support.
So that's something that you can't learn from a textbook. You need a young person to explain what is going to make them engage, what is going to make them stay and complete the sessions with us. In our training at the moment, we're in CBT manuals and we're looking at clinical guidance and things like that. But to actually hear from the young people what matters to them, there were a lot of ideas that I hadn't maybe thought of, or ways to change my practice, and just that way of thinking outside the box. I mean, I've written whole pages of little ideas about how I can change what I do to make it more fun and more enjoyable and more worthwhile for them.
Wellbeing and Dungeons and Dragons is an amazing session where young people get to come together and practice wellbeing activities, share a space and get involved in participation pieces around developing mental health services for young people. After that, they also get into some Dungeons and Dragons gameplay, which proves to be a really enjoyable and cohesive experience.
I'm one of the original members of the D&D group. So back when it was first sort of coined, it was I went into Youth in Mind, I had a session with Connor and sort of thought about, it was what kind of things would you like to see, and I brought up, D&D would be fun, or just something social would be fun.
This has always been sort of the immediate draw for these young people, and everything else then gets built upon that. It's a space which allows them to relax, be themselves and just be a bit silly. Usually at the start of each session we will do a kind of unofficially called a circle time, where we'll talk about how we've been doing the last couple of weeks, and a lot of people will be able to relate to that.
It's such a small thing, but just like little things like that is just kind of affirming like you are heard.
In sort of the first part of each session, and we may have a piece of work for them to go through. Sometimes that's feedback forms, sometimes that's questionnaires, sometimes that's actually more about hearing their direct experience of working with mental health services, what worked well for them and what didn't work so well.
The participation element of Youth in Mind it's so important. It means that young people can get their insights straight in to the places that matter.
Young people should be heard because it's their experience, it's not anybody else's.
It not only gives them that opportunity to feel heard in the moment, it adds to that ethos of respect that we try to foster within that. So it grows their confidence, it grows their ability to actually feel like their experiences matter and that their voice makes a difference.
When I give feedback to the group, I feel like it makes a difference because it brings the confidence of me that it will actually go somewhere and it will help them.
Listening to feedback from young people around here gives them the opportunity to build on what they already have.
We helped to reinvent a risk assessment that was actually used in Youth in Mind groups and in other mental health services, and we actually saw it change, so we critiqued all of the stuff that we thought didn't really help that risk assessment, and then we saw the new and improved version. So seeing the change and seeing that we actually made a difference, even if it was something so small as that, means that the other things that we do in other participation works is definitely being heard and listened to.
They know that we are going to use that feedback, that we're going to feed it directly into mental health services, and they know that somewhere along the line that is going to make and change the services themselves that either they or their peers or kind of the next generation of young people use.
If Youth in Mind didn't exist, I think that the services would take far, far longer to adjust in terms of what's required and what's needed to help improve the mental health of young people.
Mental health services as they are have a massive impact from Youth in Mind because they are directly talking to young people to help change them.
Yeah, I've seen huge changes in behaviour and certainly in confidence. And in well-being, young people come to many of our groups. They look forward to those groups, they're happy in those groups, there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of good times. And I feel honoured to be in a position where I can help that keep going forward and improve mental health services.
I've met so many lovely people here.
Everyone that works at Youth in Mind has been very nice, very friendly, very approachable.
They look out for us and they make sure that our voices are heard. We get to see the proof that they are.
Yeah, I really feel like they took what we said on board and that they really will use that in practice to make a difference to young people.